The American Constitutional Republic. Affairs of state in Oklahoma. The beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of people just like me. This is 3D Politics.
And trust me.
Tonight, of course, featuring me, the verbal, your amazing host, Tommy McKay, every Monday night, right here on Facebook Live. Tonight, the coup of the century. I've got the man of the hour. There's a Republican elephant in the room, and he's here tonight. That's right. We're going to talk about Afghanistan, Biden's bungled backtail. Let's go, Brandon. And we're going to get a Marine Corps veterans analysis. He's going to break down the debacle, and we're going to find out more about OTU media and the Patriot Party. I've got to tell you before we get started, though, there is an event that I am personally interested in. Everybody should be. Frank Urbanek, who has recently declared his candidacy for mayor of Oklahoma City, is having an event, and it is on Monday, October 18th in Oklahoma City at the Will Rogers Theater from 6 to 7:30. Go to Urbanek for Mayor on your local media and social media. Find Urbanek for Mayor, Frank Urbanek event, Monday 18th, Oklahoma City. Also, next week I've got scheduled the first virtual street fight, 3D Politics, Reddick versus Soto. We're going to bring them on as long as we're inking all the deals right now, but we've got a Facebook spat that we're going to bring all the way to the cage of 3D scrutiny, virtual street fight, Reddick versus Soto next week. But without further ado, the man of the hour, Patriot from the bunker, hashtag OTU media. Let's bring on Adam Modisette. He should be there. Should be there.
What's going on, Tom McKay?
Okay, there
People
he is.
just like us, buddy. People just like us. I'm honored to be on the show. Thank you guys for joining us live from the bunker. Hashtag OTU Media. Make sure you go and search us on all of your social medias and the alternative platforms. So BitChute, Rumble, Brighteon, all of those. Please check us out. Guys, welcome to the bunker.
There he
This is Moto. Hey,
nice.
what's going on?
All right. You know,
Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Gosh, thank you. Are you kidding me? I thought I was running the show when I first connected with Moto. I found out from the bunker his abilities took a tractor beam a hold of whatever I'm doing, and I said words like
I have that effect on people. So,
well, what I'm just saying, you have the total media control. I thought I was running it. But no, Moto, way to go. The elephant in the room is Moto, and here he is. Hello, Moto. So real quick, you know how I do everything. How did you get in? First of all, are you from Oklahoma? You seem too cool to be from Oklahoma. Are you from Oklahoma?
I am. I'm from Choctaw, USA. But first of all, I want to echo your plug for another amazing Patriot, Frank Urbanek, running for mayor of Oklahoma City, trying to unseat Mayor David de Blasio Holt. So frankurbanek.com. Listen, Frank Urbanek was there for the people of Oklahoma and Oklahoma City when the responsibility was not even his to shoulder. He stood in the gap. He sued not only Mayor Holt in Oklahoma City and kept those businesses open, and is the reason why Mayor Holt is now getting awards for having the most open city amidst the pandemic. But he also sued our very popular conservative Governor Stitt. He set curfews on bars and restaurants because the virus comes out at night, I guess. I don't know.
So no, we covered that. That was an extension of a riot that never happened. It was riot control that never happened.
And he didn't just sue the mayor and sue the good governor. He won, and he kept those businesses open. Some of them closed down, unfortunately. We have some small businesses in Oklahoma right now that are closed because of Governor Stitt and because of our radical RINO mayors. So please, everyone, please go to Will Rogers Theater on the 18th for the campaign kickoff for the next mayor of Oklahoma City, Frank Urbanek. So
6 to
but thank you, Tom, for
7:30
having me on
p.m.
the, yes. OTE media
Moto,
here. Yes. What do you want to know, my guy?
So we are going to talk tonight about Biden's bungled backtail over there in Afghanistan, and we're also want to get your analysis on it later in the bottom of the hour. We'll talk about OTU media, what it is, who, what, where, and the Patriot Party. You're going to convince me of why we need a third party, and we're going to talk about that. But let me introduce you to the people real quickly. Moto is a Marine Corps veteran, patriot, longtime supporter of President Donald J. Trump, and the owner-operator of OTU Media, LLC. In 2019, Moto was given the Elephant in the Room Award by Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite. He's feared by Oklahoma Democrats and communists, and most of all, RINOs. And from his studio in Oklahoma, well, their studio in Oklahoma, Bunker, Moto and his team keep the guns hot for Oklahoma's Patriots and Republicans. OTU Media is defending our Constitution by holding the line against the anti-culture war. And it's so true out there.
Well,
how did you...
That's very gracious, Tom, but we're helping to hold the line. Synergy is a fantastic force, and when we uplift those around us, we uplift ourselves. So our biggest mission here at OTU Media is amplifying the grassroots, and so the grassroots in Oklahoma, we are hearing them roar, and they are putting up excuse my French, hell of a fight in Red Man Land. So
that would be Le French. That's what you mean.
Anyway, so all we do is help incredible outlets such as 3D Politics do what they do and try to amplify that message. So,
well, that's what virtual street fight is all about, is taking a Facebook spat and not just to put two crabs in a barrel and make them, but ferret out these. I believe public opinion is what makes the day. There's no difference between the power of a king and the power of a tyrant. Only public opinion changes the moral attitude that we have towards our leaders. And so we've got to control public opinion. Let me ask you this real quick. We may never get this show over with, because I think we've got to flood Twitter, not run from Twitter. I think we got to flood Facebook, not run from Facebook. We got to get public opinion of the proper type into Twitter.
Well, but it's such a challenge, Tom. When you're talking about having that public opinion, you have to have public discourse. And so whenever you have platforms that themselves, self-admittedly by Mark Zuckerberg, are the new public forum, whenever you have them driving algorithms as revealed by whistleblowers within their own company, 10,000 documents, that they are purposely promoting algorithms that aggregate inflammatory material. It's Alinsky's playbook, but for your feed, your children's feed, your parents' feed. Now, my folks are on Facebook. So how do we feel about the fact that Facebook as a corporation is purposely dilating our public conversation with hateful or divisive material and rhetoric? How do we feel about that?
Well, we know how we feel about it. How we fix it is the question. And the same thing with the Dominion voting. The reason, in a way, that Dominion voting, or not just Dominion alone, but the rigged elections, in my humble opinion.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
What I'm saying is the reason this is like a Mike Lindell routine. The reason we know that is because there was an overwhelming public support for Donald Trump.
Let's hear it for Oklahoma's Mike Lindell, Clay Clark. Let's hear it for another elephant in the room. Owner of the men's grooming salon, Elephant in the Room, that has defied all of the mask mandates and all of the vaccine mandates and led this like no mask, fear unmasked these rallies.
And Awaken America,
Reawaken America tour. Yes, Clay. So let's hear it for Oklahoma's Mike Lindell, Clay Clark, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. We are eventually going to get to Afghanistan and such, but but Frank Urbanek and all the Oklahoma stuff that's going. So let's go ahead and start with the Afghanistan, because you just totally derailed whatever I was going to talk about a second ago.
Sorry, buddy. It was such a great plug for Frank, and he's such a great Patriot.
No, that's where we're.
It's time for the cavalry to
This
arrive.
is how it works. I'm very excited about about what's going on in Oklahoma. So Afghanistan. I had one clip, but I think you've got clips too. So where do you want to start with Biden's bungled backtail?
I'll tell you what, we did, OTU Media's crew here did an awesome video. The best place that you can find it is our Rumble channel. So go to rumble.com. It is the new YouTube. These platforms are book burning themselves into oblivion and irrelevance. So get off of YouTube, go to Rumble, search hashtag OTU Media, Afghanistan 2.0. And the crew here did an awesome job breaking down within days of the evacuations beginning and being completely botched in Afghanistan, explaining kind of what happened up to that point. So I won't take time with what the entire world spent 2.5 weeks hashing and rehashing about Afghanistan as it was as it was happening. What I would really like to more focus on is a lot of what I haven't heard, which is like why everything went so terribly wrong. And there's a few things to unpack about that from the Afghan side and from the structural side as far as our military was concerned. But from a 30,000 foot view, I want to primarily kind of reiterate what President Trump just said in Iowa about these television generals. This is not the first time in history that America or even the predominant world power or even the predominant world power in Afghanistan has been plagued by generals who were convinced of the absolute superiority of their military force, but also the intent of the enemy to cooperate and honor any agreements that they might make tactical decisions according to. So I do want to talk about some of the stuff like the ghost soldiers and like the Taliban doing a good job of offering comfort and money to Afghan soldiers that hadn't been paid in months. But to focus on who I think is primarily to blame, Joe Biden himself said that the buck stops with him. I do agree with him. I think the buck does stop with the commander-in-chief. And much to his staff's horror, at the podium giving a press conference, he said, you know, my predecessor didn't have a single dead American serviceman for 18 months. Okay, Joe, what else is there to say?
Yeah.
And they said,
how else can I prove my point?
He looked at Peter Ducey or something and said, I hope you'll report that one day. Like, we will gladly report that right now, Ace. That's exactly what we're here to do. You know? But going a step down, we just saw a hearing in the House of Representatives and in the Senate with these generals. So we had General Milley, Secretary Austin, and then we also had CENTCOM commander, which is a Marine Corps general. But I want to talk about General Milley first.
Okay, good.
He's in mainstream news headlines admitting treason.
He's been begging for the attention. He's been doing book tours and stuff, you know.
One thing that you can always, I'll tell you what,
Hey, Moto, let me tell him right now, that's the intercom whistle that lets everybody know we're 15 minutes in. I'm dealing right now with Adam Modisette, Patriot from the bunker. Find him at OT Media, Adam, A.K.A. Moto, a Marine Corps veteran. We're talking about Biden's bungled backtail. Hit it.
Okay, and as we keep talking about me, I want to talk about my team here too. I have an incredible team that I'm going to plug by the time we finish here. But let's keep talking about Afghanistan. So I watched the hearings, and as I'm watching General Milley talk about how the one thing about the Biden administration is they'll always tell you exactly what they did wrong right out of the gate. So as soon as General Milley starts his statements, he says, blah, 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 thank you for my guys that I just, I could give political deadlines to and hand lists of names over to the Taliban or whatever. And also, I know you've heard about my phone call to China. Let me defend that real quick. It's like, exactly. That's like Biden with the vaccine mandate. This is not about freedom. Oh, thank you for in the very first sentence alerting me to what we primarily need to be concerned about here.
If you've ever dealt with children, it's like this candy bar in my pocket. Let me explain. Okay, go ahead. Oh, that candy bar right there. So, yeah, I mean, they immediately begin to defend the lie before anybody's even accused them.
100%. It's a narcissistic character flaw that is a red flag every time. So it's everyone understands it's prima facie, and even Democrats have come out and said that Milley's phone call to Chinese generals without the knowledge of his supervisors. I think that the guys in the House representatives in the hearing did a good job of pointing out that, like, you might be able to find that in your job description, but if nobody at the cabinet level has cleared that, then what you're doing is collusion with the enemy. That's what that is, But aside from that, I want to talk about something. I want to talk about something a little bit more simple, because I don't know, 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, we heard General Milley defending the critical race theory instruction in the American military. Talking about, I've read Lenin and I've read Marx, but that doesn't make me a Marxist, huh? Well, I'll tell you what, General Milley, if you had spent more time reading about legendary Marine Corps General Chesty Puller, then you would know about him winning the Army's Service Cross in his tactical retreat from the frozen chosen reservoir against 200,000 Chinese, 10 divisions, where he wiped out 7 of them, and received an award from the Army because not only did he take out every tank and gun of his that would move, he recovered Army equipment that they had abandoned on their way out. So, General Milley, the most grievous thing that you cannot defend, and Donald Trump blows holes in it better than anybody that I've seen, is the fact that you left $85 billion in true Army fashion of American military equipment in theater. Sir, that is unforgivable. There's American blood on your hands. Those weapons will be used against Americans abroad and Americans here at home. And when it happens, you'll have heard it here first on 3D Politics. So I just want to shame General Milley with the lineage and of his ancestors that like to leave equipment in theater. But Donald Trump said, how hard is it to put a tank of gas in a plane and fly it to another country, which several pilots did. In fact, the vice president of Afghanistan, after the Afghan president fled, he, along with several Afghan pilots, went to the Panjshir Valley, a valley in Afghanistan that has never fallen, not to the Russians, not to Americans, not to the Taliban, where resistance was being led by the son of a former Afghan defense minister who was killed by Al-Qaeda as a gift to the Taliban for harboring them during 9/11. His name is Ahmad Massoud. His father was the Lion of Panjshir. And so while the real resistance was there in a valley that could have held out to infinitum with military equipment and motivated, hardened troops familiar with the territory that have held it before, instead of supporting them and funding them and sending the equipment there, where the vice president of the government that we were supposedly trying to set up was, along with about 8,000 men, who in the meantime killed almost 400 Taliban fighters while the Taliban were trying to take that valley. Bagram Air Base it lies just, I don't know, maybe 20 miles outside the one road that leads up into this valley. So all of these claims that it was cheaper to leave the equipment than to pull the equipment out. We disabled it. We didn't have anywhere for it to go. The Afghans didn't want to fight. There was no reason to hold Bagram. You could have held the Panjshir Valley instead of Bagram. So like, this is the information.
I loved hearing. I'm sorry, you're on a roll, but I loved hearing the general say, "Oh, having another airport really wouldn't have helped in any way." Really? Oh, really?
Yeah. You mean the
another
base that we just
airport,
spent
right?
10 billion taxpayer dollars on between America and the UK, that is 500 miles from China and 400 miles from Iran in the other direction?
Come on, man.
Really?
Please.
Yes,
Please.
unbelievable. And it's important to remember Pakistan's role in all of this. They have supported the Taliban as a proxy throughout this conflict. But also, another hole to blast in the stratagem that these military generals, and these are 4-star generals. These guys have racks bigger than. I knew a girl once. She had one bigger than the other one. She took first and third in a wet T-shirt contest.
Those were military battles.
Yeah, these guys have huge, massive. There's a meme going around about Dwight Eisenhower won a war and he's got like this many ribbons.
2. I saw it. Yeah.
These guys have lost a war and they've got ribbons out to freaking here. But here's another problem. So all we had to do to keep this government supported or to keep the Taliban suppressed in Afghanistan was to keep flying planes and helicopters. So in fact, if you study some of the tactics that we used in Afghanistan, even at night or at periods of rest or whenever the operational tempo needed to change, high-level commanders would literally just have planes fly over at night or before night would set in. That let those Taliban fighters know that if we get attacked, I can pick up one phone, I can pick up a radio, and I can bring in fast movers that you can't hit, and I'll kill you. So don't overnight attack me, or else I will make that call. It's a show of force, a demonstration of force. It's not the kind of tactics that I like to use. It's not the way that I like to fight a war. You know, if we're going to go in and fight a war, we need to take the gloves off and give the tactical latitude to our military commanders to seek out and destroy the enemy. None of this like, we'll bait a few high-level commanders out into the field and we'll try to figure out which hobble they're in, and then we'll go and strike them, and once we get them, everybody stop and go back to base. Like, that's not the type of war that I would fight, but that's the type of war that we were fighting, and that's the type of war that we taught these Afghans to fight, and then we pulled the air power that was the linchpin for that entire strategy.
One of the things I noticed, and again, it always seems to me like dealing with children. General Milley at one point, he said, strategic decisions have strategic consequences. And that's like saying, that's literally nonsensical. Let me get your response to this. All my information comes from C-SPAN and their transcription. He says, this is a quote from General Milley: the specific purpose of the October and January calls were generated by, quote unquote, concerning intelligence, which caused us to believe the Chinese were worried about an attack. Now, understand why I reference children. This sounds like high school boyfriend girlfriend talk.
She said he, she said he, her. Yeah.
So he says, we decided to call because we were concerned by intelligence. Is that the similar intelligence where you thought you needed to spy on Trump? They had intelligence that told them they needed to spy on Trump. They had intelligence that said we needed to go into Iraq for WMDs. They have intelligence that says a lot of shit. But here, they had intelligence which caused us to believe the Chinese were worried about an attack. Now, how do you respond to that, Moto?
Historically, Tom, we call this the arrogance of officialdom. And so for them to expect that we are going to believe that it's cheaper to leave $85 billion of equipment in country, that's the tangible part of it. Let's not talk about the intangibles of the fact that our enemies are there right now dissecting our latest military equipment, the most advanced military equipment on the planet. Just the tangibles. They expect us to believe, and they expected President Trump to believe. And apparently they knew that Joe Biden was going to believe that it was cheaper to leave that equipment there than to get it out of country. And not even the cost of lives and collateral and threat assessment and precautions that have to be taken now because of that. So the simple answer to the question is the arrogance of officialdom. Real quick though, since I'm sensing a pause in the action, let me double back to
pause in the action. I can barely get a word in edgewise.
I know. I'm sorry, man. We've got a lot to unpack.
That's why you're on the show. That's why you're on the show. No problem.
I want to get this in for you.
No problem.
One of the other big problems is that the standing army, the army on paper for the Afghans, was about 300,000 soldiers. And if you will go on even YouTube and you will search the term "Ghost Soldiers," Afghanistan, Ghost Soldiers, third world country, Ghost Soldiers. Ghost soldiers are soldiers that exist on paper but are not real. There is a commander or a sergeant or an officer signing off on the paperwork so that they can collect that salary, and in the meantime these TV generals or these pomp and ceremony generals are getting to present the numbers or the results that they need for a forever war. I'm not against the fact that we got out of Afghanistan, and staying in Afghanistan would have cost certainly more than the 13 lives of the servicemen that we lost in the ridiculous and totally preventable and unnecessary attack that happened at Abbey and the Baron Hotel. So I am deeply, deeply saddened by the loss of my brothers and sisters, and when their lives are thrown away unnecessarily because we are trusting the Taliban for security, that I take serious concern with. But other than that, the real number of soldiers that the Afghan army probably had was somewhere around 98,000. So you had 98,000 loosely associated Afghan nationals who had more loyalties to their individual tribes and regions than they did national identity, against 75,000-ish hardened, trained, experienced fighters who had been playing cat and mouse with allied forces for the last decade plus, with newly freed commanders who were released from American captivity, from American custody. So on the field we saw
there's some amazing.
There's one other thing though. Most of this 98,000 of those Afghan soldiers were also illiterate. So they had to be taught how to read and write before you could even incorporate them into a modern military. And the drug use was astronomical. So almost all of them were on drugs and almost all of them were illiterate. And there was a third of what there was supposed to be there. So
there's some amazing parallels. The whole ghost soldier thing. What's true in the macro is true in the micro. It's actually the other way around. What's true in the micro is true in the macro. There's ghost students, and they scam the money through ghost students.
There were ghost prisoners in the Oklahoma County Jail for years and years.
So you got ghost this and ghost that.
For the meal count. Mm-hmm.
Then you got the endless wars, which I thought was a marriage contract. I just thought that's what that was.
Swamps run.
Eternal war.
The swamps are vast and they run deep, and they're on the local level here as well. That's what you're hearing in Arizona come out from the Maricopa County audit. Is you're hearing the Arizona officials say, "Listen, we might be in a desert out here in Arizona, but there is a swamp in the desert." So we're getting to the bottom of the fact that these.
That's beautiful. Yeah, they actually still has legs, that story. But before, and we're getting ready to come up.
Because there's probably 6-7 times the amount of votes that President Trump would have needed to win, just in again prima facie question of the fact that there's no barcodes and there's duplicates and there's people that have moved out of state already, which is great for them. I'm glad you moved out of Arizona. I hope you moved to Oklahoma. But anyways, all right.
You're listening to the brilliant analysis of Adam Modisette, A.K.A. Moto, right there from the bunker, OTU Media. And I got to say, as we head to the break, and there's no way to end the discussion on all this Afghanistan stuff, so we'll continue it going past the break. But I got to tell you, there's a parallel between any agreement you might have. They keep talking about the Doha agreement. Well, and yet 7/8 of the Doha agreement was never met, which means there no Doha agreement. We'll be back after the break with more from Modisette and the bunker. Moto. The American Constitutional Republic. Affairs of state in Oklahoma. The beliefs, principles, opinions, and views of people just like me.
Like us.
Like us. This is 3D Politics, featuring the verbal Viking Tom. I say what I want when I want, and I say what I want. Adam, Modisette, Patriot, Moto, the man with the plan. His amazing powers have been able to tractor beam my show and hold it hostage for anything he wants.
What we do, buddy?
We are both in agreement that everybody needs to show up at the Frank Urbanic party Monday 18th.
FrankUrbanic.com.
OKC Will Rogers Theater, 6 to 7:30 p.m. So I know that there's literally no way there's no way to finish off the discuss. I could barely do anything but focus on Millie. A couple of things to finish off, at least for tonight, what we can in this discussion. I thought that it was interesting that Millie he said, quote, "I know I am certain the president did not intend to attack the Chinese." Later, he says, "I'm not able to assess the mentality of the president." So, I mean, to me, that's a conflict. How in the hell can you say you don't know when you just said you did know? Right.
It wasn't his job. He wasn't at a cabinet level at the time. So
right. Then he goes through he tells everybody that he talked to, and he says, "I informed this guy right after the call, and that guy right after the call, and I got everybody together in my office to remind them we're supposed to do what we always do, guys. Remember that?" He said, "I got everybody in the office to remind them what we do every day."
I'll tell you what, Tom, you know what the best way to sum up this Afghanistan thing is? It might be the explanation for everything that the Biden administration does. He's a Chinese Manchurian candidate, and the Chinese Communist Party has control of he and his family through an influence program called Blue, Gold, Yellow, in which they trap high-ranking politicians and their associates and family members doing incriminating things and illegal things. And then after that, I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of these people embedded in especially Western governments all over the world. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, so again,
I've seen way too much of.
All right. So again, let's get back to the public. You're gonna pull me off track for sure. This is not on the list. But you
all
said
all the generals said though that they did recommend that 2,500 troops be left in theater, and then they were told to draw down to 650 and then 0. And so they were advising the president and his staff pursuant to that, and all of them regularly through the State Department under the bus, and said that it is ultimately civilian control over the military, and we all respect that. So,
the key thing I basically, I'm a little slow, but yeah, they threw the State Department. That is correct.
And President Biden.
That is correct. But let's get to responsibility. Somebody said, anybody who said, I think it was Milley, maybe Lloyd Austin, I take responsibility. Let's talk about the word responsibility. How about if I say, oh no, Lloyd Austin, I take Tom McKay, 3D Politics, takes responsibility. What is the difference between me pretending to take responsibility and him pretending to take responsibility? Because what is the verb? What is the action?
I believe you, Tom. That's the difference. I believe you.
Dang it. You'll come back next week, right? What I'm saying is, dang it.
Listen, I do take responsibility. Okay, I
didn't expect that. That's a good answer, Moto.
We should all be taking responsibility for it.
Because there's got to be try to get back to the show. There's
No
got to be a vote, not just accountability.
Not only has no one been fired, the only Marine that is in the brig for what's happened here is Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Shelley.
That's accountability.
Who had the balls
to
tell the rest of this Marine Corps, my Marine Corps, that someone should have been taking their rank off, throwing it on the table and saying, absolutely not will you get my Marines killed in this ridiculousness. So we are, listen, I should truly have this flag behind me upside down. Our nation is in distress. Our highest office.
Well, unless you're an optimist.
An administration that is controlled by the Chinese Communist Party. Full stop.
If Trump runs in 24 and somehow is screwed out of it again, turn the flag over, because I can tell you still have some hope.
I'll tell you what, Tom. If James Never the Same Langford wins his primary here in the state of Oklahoma in 2022, you can hang it up, buddy, because I have not seen a political movement in this state and hardly the nation, the likes of Jackson Lawmeyer for Senate. Okay, so this America wave, this Patriot uprising, it has a focal point. There is a tip of the spear. It's Jackson Lawmeyer for Senate. It is an absolute grassroots referendum against Oklahoma's RINO #1, James Never the Same Langford. And if you don't see him toppled in the primary, you and I and all of these great patriots are going to know that something is awry, and we'll come back to that shortly, I'm sure.
Well, no, you're right. I'm so proud. I've had Jackson Lawmeyer on the show. He actually broke news here last year talking about getting in the run. We met him at the rally in Norman, Oklahoma.
What a lion. We are so lucky to have
this guy is amazing
like that to run against James Langford. And he's a man of God. He's running from the pulpit. He's running on an unapologetic America First agenda. And I'll tell you what, his endorsements that are coming out of the Trump camp are steadily moving up the chain. Although I don't know if it gets any higher than General Michael American Hero Flynn.
Got a chance to meet him as well. I mean, no kidding. And he was much more merciful towards Langford than my attitude was. He says, sometimes on the battlefield, and I've never been there, but in actual combat, he was saying that men freeze in fear. It's tough out there. And he says that's what happened to Langford.
But listen,
and you don't hate him.
If you put that same man in the gap again, that's on you.
And you don't hate the man. You remove him from the battlefield and you replace him. So we got to remove Langford without hating him and replace him with Lawmeyer. I'm just saying, those were the words. That's me paraphrasing Flynn, and I thought he had more compassion for Langford than I did, because my guess was Flynn's actually been in combat. I'm all like,
did you watch the Trump rally that was in Iowa the other night?
No.
Well, before the speakers got started, before the main speakers got started, they actually played a video of George S. Patton from the movie Patton. So George S. Scott
Well, George C. Scott, yeah.
giving the Patton speech, right?
It was the better Patton. It was the one I liked. It's like the Alamo Jesus. It's the white one. Go ahead.
Listen. Millie should have spent more time, like I said, reading about Patton as well. Because Patton says something in that speech, and I loved seeing it at a Trump rally, but he says, Americans play to win all the time. Americans will not tolerate a loser. The very thought of losing is hateful to Americans. So when you say that I don't have to hate James Langford, I hate cowards. And whenever our republic is on the line and you've sworn an oath, and we have the most obvious election fraud in the history of the republic.
Oh, documented, yeah.
And you promise your constituents here in this, is you my constituency? Is you ain't. When you promise your constituents here in the state of Oklahoma that you're going to at least take a 10-day pause to review some of this evidence and information that we all had readily at hand already, and then you get there and you buckle while you have 1 million patriots backing you up on site, I'm sorry. I hate that. So I'm not
I get it.
James Langford anyways. I've been thwarting and combating James Langford's establishment tactics and politics here within the Oklahoma Republican Party for years already. So those things did not cause me to hate James Langford. I'll say that much. But what he did on January 6th, let me tell you, if you break bread or commiserate with James Langford, then you and I are not the same.
Well, okay. What I do know is that my joke about James Langford was, or do you disagree with Senator from Oklahoma, James Langford's position? Wait a minute. I mean, whatever. If he lied to me when we were married before, and then later he says I'll never do it again. Yeah, I mean, this guy, you couldn't believe him. So a lot of people are like, whoa, no, wow, he's saying the right thing. He said the right thing before. What about Pence? We're off topic. We're totally off topic. What about Pence?
Fool me once. Listen, this is an old adage. Fool me once, shame on you.
Yeah.
Fool me twice, shame on
right.
you.
Okay, so what about Pence?
I'm not willing to be fooled twice by James Langford, especially when we have such a fiery and unapologetic.
Langford's got to go.
Yes, he does. Absolutely.
I'm just saying,
and
Flynn was a real gentleman.
Every serious political force in Oklahoma is saying it as well.
Flynn was a real gentleman, is all I'm saying. When I was at,
he's a real general. He's an American hero. He's faced
this guy was really polite.
Of the federal government and the weaponized intelligence apparatus. So
this guy was
done
super
jail
polite.
time because our federal government is acting outside the bounds of the Constitution.
Just
Roger
like
Stone's house was SWAT teamed. Okay, I'm ready for I'm ready for them to walk in here any moment. So if the alphabet's listening, I'm ready for you.
Moto, I'm just trying to keep up. Okay, yeah. That's all I'm doing.
The mannequin in the lobby's wearing tannerite. Don't test me.
Did we talk about OTU Media LLC? Who, what, where? Oklahoma Taxpayers Unite. Do we explain to the people what it is? Because we just kept going with the thing, and I still want to ask you about the pen. Because Trump asked Pence, go in there and do what I say. Vice president, guy I ran with. And Pence was like, well, I think it's Constitution. I don't care if you think it's Constitution. The freaking president said, go contest it. And Pence failed like Langford, right?
I don't care. They mailed out ballots to.
What I'm saying is Pence, for me, it's cathartic for me, Moto. Pence failed like Langford, right?
I agree. Okay. Now, wait, Tom. Wait, are you making the case for the Patriot Party here tonight, or am I?
I might be. I'm saying.
Mission accomplished. Listen, that's why they.
Not yet. No, because I'm saying we'll get to that. Tell us about OTU Media, because I got arguments against third party for sure.
Okay, all right. Well, OTU Media here, I have an absolute crack team. I've got a few different studios here, but we basically do anything that you can put on the internet. So it doesn't matter whether it's podcasting, live streams, gaming, graphic design, music, anything that you have a concept for, we can turn into content. So that's my shortest elevator pitch, I guess, would be that we turn concepts into content. So we've been lucky and privileged to start tons of great projects that this audience is probably familiar with. I was there at the inception of 3D Politics, as a matter of fact. So if you trace,
yeah, well, yes, I can attest to that.
If you trace this project all the way back to its seedling days, then you will find Moto there in Tulsa.
You are listening to Moto. A.K.A. Madam Modisette right there at the bunker. Wow, that's a little over 2.5 years ago. Out at a little idea in February 2019. We were trying to figure out how to do all this stuff, and they said, well, we know a guy out of Modisette. He's Moto. He runs the bunker down there in Oklahoma City. He can show us how to do it. So Moto came all the way from Oklahoma City, drove into Tulsa, met with all the boys and other people, plus some of the girls and the boy girls, and Moto showed us. He says, look, here's this sword. It's Excalibur, and here's how you use it. And we were, oh, wow. And some of the boy girls were like, no, it's scary. And then the men ran away later, and I said, no, hand me the sword.
And so, here we are.
Well, actually, there's one horrible...
has the power.
There's one horrible moment where there we were in Grandma's kitchen, and I had learned to use OBS because Moto had taught me Excalibur. And so, man, I ran an hour. I ran like 90 minutes of a train wreck, and later found out, and I never tried to...
Listen, we had
the sword was too... The point is, the sword for me was too big to handle. Only Moto could do it. I just do 3D politics.
To tell you the truth, Tom, even I mean, I had to grow into it. There are some shoes that got left to fill around.
It killed me.
That we just couldn't fill for a long time, and that's the late great Todd Tucker. A lot of people that are watching the show, they know that part of the early gaps that we were able to make inroads through with the conservative front was Todd Tucker's radio show, and he came here to the bunker and started doing shows after he got canned.
See, I didn't know that. I'm in my little bubble in Tulsa.
This is a little backstory for OTU Media.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Let me keep it pushing for you, though.
Sure.
So we've also been a part of some great projects like Me, Myself, and Liberty with Leslie Nesmith.
Right.
Battle on the Home Front with Kyle Early. And if you guys don't know what Kyle Early is doing with Battle on the Home Front, an incredible project, veteran outreach program. He's got Barrage Coffee. He's got Active Duty RX Clarity and Focus that I take every day. There's a night formula. Go check all that out, battleonthehomefront.com. We've been able to help on the News Now OKC project. We've gotten projects off the ground like Let the People Decide. We've had, even to this day, the projects that we get to work on, like Wake and Bake with Old School and Co. and greengrowfest.com, all these different grassroots entrepreneurs in Oklahoma that needed affordable, quality digital media. They came and found us, and we took those resources, and we fueled our part of the fight for the Patriot front with that. And we've also been very lucky to lend a hand to some great candidates and some great causes and organizations along the way. So if you were a part of that and we had the privilege of working with you, or if you're one of the people that has helped support us here at OTU Media, one of our patrons, if you go to www.patreon.com/OTU Media, you'll find an aggregate page for all of our content and all of our projects. And so if people want to sign up there to support what we do here for $5 a month, $10 a month, that is great. But also, if you want to have your own podcast, or you want to build a project, or if you have a marketing campaign that you need help with or consulting with, or some workspace here, we're a couple miles from the Capitol here in Oklahoma City, just off of 50th and Lincoln. And so you'll find some things available on the Patreon page there at patreon.com/OTU Media. that might be useful for you. So, but I've got an amazing team here. We do anything technical and digital. Studio B, Bryce. I'm fortunate enough to have one of my nephews working for me as well. So this is
Nice.
a family business, and that's also been great. Thankfully, we were considered essential employees during all the lockdowns.
Oh my! I gave you privileges, and you're essential. How the hell does that work?
Thank goodness. Yes. No, we were busy though. OTU Media, even in the midst of the mandates and lockdowns, we were busy having meet, eat, don't retreat parties and bunker buster parties, and making sure that Mayor Holt knew that we had 10 plus people here and he could come haul me to the pokey if he wanted to. He didn't oblige that offer, or hasn't yet anyway. So we'll see how that works out. But I'll tell you what, man. It looks like we've got 9 or 10 minutes left here, and I know you are dying to hear about the rationale behind Patriot.
Man, I was trying to figure out, if you want to stick around, I am tied to nothing but you, and we can go as long as you want. Now, do you want?
I like to keep things on a tight ship, Tom. I plan on adding you to the network.
That's a good idea.
We run on 30-minute and hour time slots. So.
Okay, so the things that we've missed. So before you. Listen, I'm trying to be polite, but you already mowed me down, and I got to throw this out before we get out of here. Let's talk about third party, okay? WTF, what do we need a third party for? It's just like, so this is a parallel to the Nathan Dom. He didn't shoot himself in the foot. He shot Lawmeyer in the foot. My analogy is a baseball team who wants to win, and the pop fly to the outfield, and Lawmeyer says, I got it. And Dom says, I got it. And then all of a sudden, way to go. Nobody's got it. Way to go, Nathan Dom, okay?
Right.
So that's one problem, and it's the same problem that we got with a third party. I believe that the Republican Party has already been branded by Trump. Trump owns the Republican Party. The Republican Party right now is in purgatory. It's on hold, waiting for Trump to get back, and that's what's going on. A third party does nothing to split the issues like Dom does Langford, okay? Now, I'm done.
Okay. So Tom, let me ask you a very simple question. According to your rationale then, if the Patriot Party is not in the conversation.
Hold it. Okay. Oh God, I know nothing about the Patriot Party. I've done no judgment on the Patriot. Okay.
There is no Oklahoma Patriot Party yet. We're
okay, but the concept of a third party is something. Tom,
we will deploy.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I got triggered. Go ahead.
Yeah, hold on, Tom. Let me ask you a very simple question. So right now, the Patriot Party doesn't exist of Oklahoma. And the National Patriot Party, there are some upstarts. Oddly enough, almost all of the notable Patriot Party efforts are headed by Marine Corps veterans. You should know that. But aside from that, if Jackson Lawmeyer, who should rightfully win this primary, if he does come down with the ball, right? If he wins against James Langford in the primary and we send him to Washington, then your rationale is correct. Because the Patriot Party would have gotten in the way of that potentially, maybe, I don't know, probably not. If I explain the mechanics,
I understand where you're headed.
Now, so if, let's say, Tom McKay, Jackson Lawmeyer, God forbid, loses this primary because of Nathan Dom, or because it's rigged, or because of whatever, then can you understand that it was not the Patriot Party that caused him to not come down with the ball? It was something within the Republican Party, even Nathan Dom, a credentialed Republican.
Okay, all right. So I'm presuming. Yes.
So if James Langford wins the Republican primary, can I re-register you as a Patriot in Oklahoma, Tom?
Not yet. I can't commit to that yet. What I think is,
if James Langford wins the primary, then it means our efforts here in the reddest state in the nation that hasn't had a single blue county in 2016 or 2020 cannot be reclaimed in the primary process. So if you cannot take a rock star quarterback like Jackson Lawmeyer,
your presumption,
RINO, who is as unpopular as in Oklahoma, then good luck doing it anywhere. But I want to know. I want you to know, Tom. If James Langford wins the primary, I'm going to ask you and several other people who are skeptical right now to re-register as a Patriot with me.
Well, there's not even a party there yet.
We need 35,592 signatures to get it done, which means we probably need 50 to 60,000 by the time they decertify a bunch of signatures to make sure that we get across the line. So it's not hard to put the Patriot Party on the ballot. Oh, another petition effort that
hold on, let me answer the question.
Okay, go ahead. I know we're getting close, Tom. Sorry.
Your Honor, leading the witness. So the presumption in your hypothetical is that the election is fair. And the election is not fair. So the idea of starting a third party to do what? Until we have election integrity, there is no reason for any party anything. Because third party, there's not even, you can't even tell, because you say you have a better chance of solidifying signatures on your petition than you do electors in the federal government. I mean, it's Tom, what do you mean third party? There's no third party chance if you can't.
Listen. Now, I've got the last part, and I'm going to insist on closing with this, and I will come back to talk about the rest of how this will mechanically work. All of your political rationale is motivated from a Republican place. There are swaths of people. There are swaths of people in Oklahoma who have been left behind by the Democrat Party, who don't believe in 83 genders, who are not against our law enforcement, who do not support Black Lives Matter and Antifa and these other subversive groups, who don't have a political home right now. There are also Republicans. Out of the million registered Republicans, there's probably 500,000 Republicans and 500,000 RINOs, which means your net is zero. I would take 50,000 Oklahoma Patriots over a million Oklahoma Republicans today. But either way, there are swaths of people who are not finding their political home in either of those parties, and they know that the Libertarian Party is not a serious effort with 15,000 registered people in Oklahoma. So I will tell you, Tom McKay, that setting up the Patriot Party of Oklahoma is the right thing to do to give these people political expression. And no matter what party I end up in after it gets done,
I got a question, and I am not even worried about the time. What I'm asking you is, so repeat to me what is the difference between the Libertarian Party and the Patriot Party?
Because
signatures.
Now listen. The Libertarian Party is. I'm not disrespecting the Libertarian Party. They have different aims and mechanics than us. The Patriot Party will not paint the ballot, so we will not rep good Republican races where conservatives are going to win. In fact, we will be an active elite fighting force on the ground for them. We will choose our candidates in caucus, so we will not have open primaries where we have to wonder if the popular pick is going to be someone that's in line with our values. Our candidates will be chosen by active and dedicated delegates. And lastly, our candidates will not have to participate in a sacked and saturated with money, especially out-of-state money, Republican primary process. They will go straight to a general. So that old line that RINOs pitch us about middle-of-the-line districts, that you can't run a conservative because they won't be able to win, we will immediately be able to negate that argument, because we'll say, listen, we have 15 to 18% of your base that will defect in a general that will not vote for this RINO, and they will also not win. So now it's an accountability mechanism and a deterrent, and they have to give us a candidate that we can all vote for, or the Patriot Party's coming, baby. So I'll talk more with you about it later. But OTU Media, Moto, and the Bunker has the credentials and the credibility to get this done. And I promise you, we are America first. This is MAGA Nation. We have seen the Republican Party's tricks on the national level and the state, and we're not having it anymore.
Ranked choice voting, Moto, yes or no?
I'm in between. I'm iffy. I would have to see some
to
see some practical applications of it. I like
I tell you, there's no practical application to ranked choice voting.
I just need to see it tested. I haven't seen it tested enough. Chris Powell from the Libertarian Party and a fellow Marine Corps veteran of mine has come into the bunker and explained ranked choice voting with Todd Hagopian, who ran on the top of the Libertarian ticket last cycle as corporation commissioner. So I understand the concept. I just need to see it applied in more races so that I understand it. But
can you not study the philosophy and see it's a delusion?
Sure, I got a lot on my hands, Tom. Don't we have a show to wrap up here at 7:59? There's only so much time in the day, buddy. All right, hey, and thank you for doing what you do. You're a very talented broadcaster and host, and I can't wait to watch you mediate this digital.
You're the monster. So you said you do stuff. You'll produce my virtual street fight between Reddick versus Soto. All right, Reddick versus Soto. We're putting it together. Moto, thanks for being on the show. You'll be back next week. You're coming back next week.
I don't know about next week, but soon, buddy. We got to get some other hot guests in on your show, man. I got people dying to get on 30 Politics with the Verbal Viking.
Send me something. All right. Thanks, Moto. Thanks for being on the show. All right. Take yourself out. Look people at that, just like kids. There is just no way to stop the Moto. Adam Modisette, Moto, Marine Corps veteran out there in Oklahoma City. We appreciate him being here. Don't forget, you've got to show yourself up in Oklahoma City at the Will Rogers Theater. That's next week, Oklahoma City, Monday the 18th, Will Rogers Theater for the Urbanic for Mayor kickoff. That's right. We just talked to Moto, and we're going to hope to see him soon coming back again. His tractor beam finally let us go. But don't forget to be there, Oklahoma City, Will Rogers Theater in Oklahoma City, 6 to 7:30 p.m. for the Urbanic for Mayor kickoff. Also, look forward to next week's update on the Reddick versus Soto 3D politics virtual street fight. Thanks again to Moto for coming out. We'll see you guys next week.